Hi, how are you? Please take note that it's been 8 months since I last did a video. So this time, pardon me if ever I'll be doing some issues regarding this one, but let's hop on to our main problem. This time, let me help you a bit regarding the orientation if in case you're just new for the IELTS exams. Well, actually, the IELTS together with the UKVI are actually almost the same. The only difference would be, number one, the payment. UKVI will just cost you almost 5,000 pesos more, like for the IELTS, which is, of course, lesser than that. But it depends on your country, of course. In the Philippines, it's almost 12,000 pesos for the IELTS right now, unlike for the UKVI, which would reach up to almost 15,000 pesos. So this time, let's hop on to the main lecture. Okay, this time let's focus on the orientation in order for the newbies, of course, to know something about the IELTS exams. Well, come to know that the IELTS is actually comprised of 4 main subtests to include the listening, reading, and writing. Of course, even the speaking, but for all those first 3, they will be suggested or they will be scheduled for the examinations that you file for. Let's say, for example, if you will file for the examination this 20th, then for all of those LRW, they will be on that date. But for the speaking exams, they could be in the afternoon, or it could also be like 3 days before or 3 days after. But in Metro Manila, usually it would be even scheduled 7 days before. So make sure that you be ready to take the examinations within those times, okay? So let's just note of what shall you expect for the IELTS exams. Foremost, for the listening, okay? Remember that for the listening examinations, you will have to undergo the following. First, there will be like 4 sections overall. Expect that the first one would be like a dialogue. There will be usually 2 individuals using a telephone to converse with one another. Unlike for the second section in which it would be like appearing as if what I'm doing right now. There will just be an individual talking about a certain topic like how to cook anything, how to ride the bike, and the like. But expect that for third and fourth sections, they will be having at least 2 to 5 people conversing with one another. But note that for all of those sections, they would comprise of 10 points each. So for a total of 40 points, you will have to make them perfect so to get a 9 as your band score for the listening exams. Okay? But note that for the listening examinations, there will be various, say, steps that you are going to undergo or proceed with. First being would be in your first section, you will be given 30 seconds to read all the questions in advance and highlight your keywords. Well, this is actually the most crucial part because remember, you won't be given another chance to listen to that audio material, so make sure that you really note of the best word to listen to while you are answering afterwards. I repeat, make sure that you highlight the keywords there properly. There are actually 2 things or 2 keywords you need to observe whenever you're highlighting. First one would be the absolute terms. Absolute terms actually include the names, the dates, the months, the years, anything that is considered exact in English. Usually anything which has no English counterpart or synonym for that matter. Also consider the unusual languages. For the unusual languages though, make sure that you prepare your vocabulary because expect that there will be a lot of synonyms for all of those words. Then after you have noted of those keywords there, you now are bound to answer while you listen. Remember, I told you earlier that you won't be given another chance to listen to that audio material, so while you are listening, you make sure that you answer right away, okay? Also, after you've answered all of those 10 points, let's say, for example, for the first section there, you'll be given a few gap or a very minimal gap, which is again 30 seconds for to at least check all of your answers for that section that was just done. Then you are going to proceed with the next section afterwards. For the next section here, again, proceed with your first 2 steps together with the third one and so on. Okay? So after you employed all of those first 3 steps for all of those 4 sections there for the listening exams, you are given 10 more minutes. Lucky you are for the listening exams because you're given 10 more minutes to transfer all of your answers from your booklets to your answer sheets. Make sure though that you transfer everything there, the correct answers of course for the answer sheets, because if nothing is written on the answer sheets, nothing will be checked. Okay? So I hope that we are clear a bit with regard to our listening exams. Remember, later on, I'll be giving you some more techniques, okay? I'll be having my in-depth discussion for the listening examination soon. So take note of that or attend that class later on, okay? After, let's say, 30 minutes up to 40 of you spent for the listening examinations, you will proceed immediately with the reading exams. For the reading examinations, note that you will be given 3 passages usually, or 3 sections for that. They are succeeding in order with regard to their level of difficulty. Usually the first one is the easiest. Of course, the second one would be average, with the third as the difficult or the most difficult of all. Consider each of those sections having like 13 to 14 points. So expect that there will be like a section or 2 sections rather comprising of 13 points, with the last one usually having 14. So overall, you're also given 40 points to answer for the reading examinations. But for the reading examinations, you are only given 60 minutes to facilitate answering everything there. So here, you need to make sure that you only allot 60 minutes to answer everything, also transferring everything. Okay? Speaking of transferring everything here, let's note of the steps. First, you need to make sure that for all of those, let's say, for example, first section, 13 points, read all of them, okay, and highlight your keywords there. Again, note of having the absolute terms and the unusual languages for those. Then afterwards, you're bound to search for those keywords. With me stating that you need to search for those keywords, I don't want you to actually read everything out. I just wish you to note of performing 2 things. First, you scan the absolute terms and you skim for the unusual languages. So basically, if you noted of, let's say, for example, a year, okay, you scan for the year on the passage and there you go. The answer is just around it. It could be that the answer was already stated before that, but if you could really note of the best keyword there, the answer will be next on the passage, of course. But if you could just note of, let's say, some unusual languages, again, implore your vocabularies. Note of the lexical resource there, because you don't expect that whatever is written there on the question, it will be also the same as with that of the words in the question, okay, or in the passage, I mean there, okay? So note of the synonyms for those. So perform skimming basically for that one. Then of course, for all of those, let's say 13 points or 14, supply your temporary answers for all of them, or at least supply your best answer already, okay? Then after implore, again, all of those first 3 steps per section or per passage, you need to transfer all of your answers from your booklets to your answer sheets. Here, take note that within that 60 minutes time, make sure that you always allot, most especially whenever you're just practicing, 10 minutes to transfer everything there. Because again, it's like on your listening earlier, if nothing is written on your answer sheets, nothing will be checked. Okay? I hope we are clear a bit with regard to our orientation for the reading. So here, just like you're listening earlier, like what I told you, we are going to have a more in-depth discussion for this one. Okay? After the reading examination, spending exactly 60 minutes for that task or subtest, you're going to proceed with the writing exams, which is your 3rd subtest here. For the writing examinations, okay, you are actually given 2 tasks, okay? The first one would be depending on your module. If you're going to, say, any English-speaking country for purposes of visa, like, say, spouse visas, okay, fiancé visas, and the like, you're going to take the GT exams, or that is the counterpart of life skills for UKVI, okay? But if you're going to study there abroad or to work there immediately abroad, then you're going to take, or you're going to describe a given picture. There are just actually 2 pictures there that you're going to deliver. It's just about the statics or the numbers actually are involved there, or some process, any illustration for that. But for both of you, whether GT or ACAD, your task 2 would be to facilitate writing an essay. For all of those tasks, actually, we have separate discussions for them. So attend them, most especially our essay. As for my essay, usually I am consuming at least 4 hours to conduct my lecture on that one. So make sure that you don't skimp on that one. You make sure that you attend that particular lecture, okay? So apart from just those that you need to facilitate writing an essay for task 2, or if you're GT on your task 1, you're going to write a letter, or if you're an academic test taker here, you're going to write a description. Also note the following. First, you need to set your writing with the at least preferred minimum number of words. In the guidelines, the preferred minimum number of words for task 1 is actually 150. But I wish you to write at least 180 words up to 200 for that. Okay, later on, for my rationale behind that, I'll be suggesting you. Okay, but for task 2, also make sure that you don't just stick with the guideline, which is 250. Write at least 280 words up to 300 for that. Okay, but here remember that we have corresponding values for tasks. The task 1's value is actually a third of your overall score. Unlike for task 2, which is actually twice as much of your score. So promote much of your effort for task 2, but do not neglect your task 1, because remember, first impressions task. Usually, if the first examiner had given you a failing grade relatively on your task 1, then it might as well for task 2. Therefore, the second examiner who will be checking your essay writing there. Okay? So, as you need to observe the values, then in your writing examinations, you're given also 60 minutes, just like you're reading earlier. Observe your proper timing then. That you spend only 20 minutes for task 1 and 40 minutes because your task 2 is actually twice as much in value for that. Okay? Here, though, in observing your proper timing, implore 3 things. Okay? For your first part, usually, you need to make sure that you plan and brainstorm. Do not just start immediately writing. A common problem with regard to my students usually is that they start immediately writing without even finishing their plan. I need you to brainstorm. I need you to actually prepare on what to write before you start writing. Because if you did it like you write immediately, you are not going to finish your activity. But before finishing your activity, you do your proofreading. You edit your write-up. Because if you're not able to edit your write-up, your exams will note of a lot of issues there. Like simple as in grammar issues, problems with regard to the capitalizations, spellings, and the like. So make sure that you spread your eyes for all of those issues, some minor English issues that you don't commit anymore in front of your examiners upon him or her reading your activity. Okay, so here we are going to have our in-depth discussion as well later on, so attend that one. Okay, so like what I told you earlier, for all of those LRW, they will be set on that examination that you filed for. The schedule, there. But for the speaking examinations, which usually is scheduled on a separate day, or it could also be in the afternoon, just after your listening, reading, and writing in the morning, starting from 9 up to 12. That could also be scheduled, though, like in a week before the reading examinations. Prepare for that one, and also note of the following. Okay, remember that for the speaking examinations, you are given 3 main tasks. Okay, the first task is what we call your introduction or interview. That's just actually the easiest part for the speaking examinations. All you have to do there is to present who you are. Just answer anything that is about you. Just answer honestly. That is my usual guideline there. Just answer honestly. Just deliver whatever's on your mind. Think instantaneously, because your examiners are wanting you to be fluid for task 1 as you're just delivering some data about yourself. Okay? But for task 2, which is actually called your individual long run, for that part that will be separated into 2. Okay? First, you need to make sure that you are going to deliver, you're going to prepare everything in 1 minute. Don't worry, because you're given a pen or pencil together with another sheet of small paper for to note of presenting your answers there, preparing your thoughts. You could write like essay forms or like sentences if you wish to, but if I were you, just note of like simple words, group of words may do you great already, like phrases. You could just glance on that while you are delivering afterwards, because after a minute of preparation, you're going to deliver a speech in 2 minutes. I recommend, though, that here you reach your 2 minutes target. Make it exact as much as possible. Here, it's okay that you go just beyond 1 minute here, but I would like you to really deliver in such a way that you are the one being stopped by your examiner. Okay? So keep on practicing so that you can develop your own body clock for that. I repeat, for tasks which is actually called your individual long run, make sure that in 1 minute, for the first minute there, you prepare everything. Take advantage of using that piece of paper and pen for preparation. Then afterwards, you will have to deliver your speech in exactly 2 minutes. For final part, which is your task 3, that is called your two-way discussion. Two-way discussion though, but you're not bound to ask your examiner. Well, in fact, if you would ask your examiner there, it's as if you are shifting or you are actually noting of like you are the examiner already. So just answer what you are asked there. Although you could inquire with words like, would you please repeat the question? Did you mean that? Then you reiterate whatever you've heard. But don't say like, pardon? Hey, what? Come again? Those are too informal. Those and more I'll be suggesting in our lectures later on. I have a separate discussion for all of those tasks, even some discussions with regard to the criteria. Speaking of the criteria here, okay, in my opinion, the easiest subtest of all is actually the speaking. Why? Because all you have to do is actually prepare for this 4 criteria. You need not have, in fact, any ideas there to deliver. In fact, there is no like right or wrong answers here. Observe just 4 things. Primarily, observe your grammar. Of course, it's a part and parcel, very significant part of the English. So observe your grammar. We have a discussion for that one later on. Okay, so attend that one. Here, you also need to observe your vocabulary and lexical resource. Here, expand your vocabulary every now and then by reading constantly. Read, if you could, some dictionaries, the encyclopedia if you wish to, and if you come across with a new word, search for the meaning of it, okay? Then you construct a sentence relating to yourself. Third criteria would be about the fluency. Well, most people would say that I am fluid with regard to my English, but I could say I'm not. I'm still trying. I'm still in the process of making myself fluid with regard to my English. You see, English is just my second language. In fact, at home, we are actually using several dialects. So I use Ilocano usually at home. Although in the Philippines, we also use Tagalog. So even at home, we use that particular dialect as well. Okay, so technically, I could even say that English is even my third language. So, but with constant practice, I have developed this. Although I'm still in the process of developing myself more with regard to my fluency, to become more fluid with regard to my deliveries there. That's a third criteria, or criterion, I mean there. Here, you also need to observe your pronunciation. The pronunciation is also accounting to 25% of your score. Well, for most people, if ever they would hear me, they would say that as if I'm already good when it comes to my pronunciation as well. But constantly, every day of my life, I am practicing. I'm still in the process of making it at least close to perfection. So those are the 4 things that you need to observe it with regard to your speaking examinations. No right or wrong answers here. So just note of, again, the grammar, vocabulary, lexical resource, fluency, and your pronunciation there. Okay, so I hope that I am clear with regard to my delivery or my discussion here for what you need to know as of the moment for the IELTS exams. Here, though, we have some more in-depth discussions for all of them later on, so make sure that you attend them. I hope you've learned something today. That is the end of our orientation. Well, those are just actually some brief notes that you could know about the IELTS examinations. Attend our in-depth discussions for all of them later on. Okay? Have a great day. God bless you.